What's up guys, it's Colin Coates from Built2Wander. We took some time this fall to make some functional changes to our Triton JL Jeep build. We decided to make some improvements and change up the look a bit now that it's been a full year since the original build took place. We focus on suspension, bumpers, and powder coat, and we'll even hint at a brand new set of KMC wheels and Nitto tires that will be thrown under the build as well. Follow along as the Triton Jeep JL gets rebuilt in the shop and tested on the Moab off-road trails. We'll be heading out to the Moab 4x4 Expo, where we'll spend 3 days on the trails putting it through its paces, and we can't wait to show you guys how well it performs after all of the changes we've made. So we just got to Hefty Fabworks here in Colorado Springs. We're working with Hefty Fabworks on our JL and Gladiator builds, as well as our Tacoma on the armor for the builds. They helped us out with a brand new front and rear bumper for the JL, and we want to show you guys some of the ins and outs of the bumper manufacturing process and just kind of highlight what they do down here in Colorado Springs. So we're wrapping up here at Hefty Fabworks. I'm with Chris Hefty, owner of Hefty Fabworks.
Hey.
We've got the new front bumper for the Jeep JL behind us. They're getting ready to burn out quite a few of them, and they actually just released today.
Yep.
So we're gonna be heading off to powder coat, showing you guys the powder coating process. Just wanted to introduce you guys to Chris, and Chris, thank you so much for all your help and for working with us.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're at Mod Finishes. We just showed you guys the powder coating process on our new bumpers from Hefty Fabworks. Now they're installed on the Jeep. Obviously, it's a little bit darker than our previous setup, so we wanted to change up the look a little bit. Mod Finishes helped us achieve that. We're stoked on how well this bumper came out. It's nice, high clearance, it's tight to the body. It's got these heavy duty shackle tabs, and it's got integrated holes for the backup sensors from the factory rear bumper. And not only that, we swapped from our Baja Design Squadron Sport backup lights on our previous bumper setup and went to these S2 Pro flush mounts, which is super nice. They're nice and flush, and they just make for a really clean look. It's made out of steel, so you know it's gonna take some of those hard hits when you're dropping off ledges or whatnot. And we think Hefty Fabworks just absolutely killed it on this bumper. So moving on to the front bumper, again, powder coated to match the rear. It's also got tabs for the LP6s integrated into the bull bar, and then the LP4s mount directly to the bumper. So it just creates this really clean, just badass look up front with the auxiliary lighting from Baja Designs. It's got the D-ring shackle mounts, the Warren Xeon 10S winch mount with the fair lead mount. So it's got to be the easiest bumper I've ever installed. You can push the bumper right onto the frame and then drop the winch, add the lights, do it all after the fact, and it just looks aggressive as hell. There's nothing on the market that looks like it. And so we really think Hefty Fabworks knocked it out of the park, and we're really stoked on the new look up front here, and definitely pumped about how well this bumper came out. In addition to bumpers, we actually replaced the shocks on all 4 corners with new shocks from Bilstein. We went from a 12-inch coilover and bypass down to a 10-inch body shock, and the good folks at Bilstein went ahead and customized them for us to make them actually 11 inches of travel, which allowed us to A, gain more up travel, and B, lower the overall ride height, which means we can mob harder through the desert, we can get into the rocks a little faster, drop off something a little harder, and not bottom out as often. So it's a lot more comfortable of a ride. We also added these AGM coilover sliders. They're a 3-piece design versus your standard 1-piece slider. So when the shock cycles, all those 3 different components, they move independently of each other. They allow the coil to stay more true to the shock body, which prevents the coil from rubbing on the shock body, and it also prevents that squeak that you're known to hear from the coilover. So moving on to the rear, the changes we made to the rear suspension were actually pretty extensive. We ripped off the coilover mounts, both the upper and lower mounts, and we completely built our own. We added new upper and lower control arm mounts from RockShox 4x4, and we were able to space them apart a little bit differently, which freed up track bar binds, so immediately the rear axle could cycle a little bit better. And we also built new lower shock mounts and sway bar tabs. We brought the lower shock mount up a couple inches so it didn't hang so far down, and it's just a little bit higher clearance. And we actually put the upper coilover mount back into the factory position. We went from actually a 14-inch body shock in the rear to a 10-inch body shock, modified from Bilstein to have 11 inches of travel. So in the rear, we dropped the ride height about 3 inches, and we added 3.5 inches of up travel. So a much better ride in the rear. The axle cycles perfectly. And then lastly, we swapped out our bump stops for some hydraulic bump stops from Bilstein. They're 2-inch stroke. So as soon as we, fully bottom out, those help soften that impact and just create a really nice ride in the rear end there. So we're gonna stick with what we know. We've been running the 40-inch Nitto Trail Grappler on this build since we did the original build for SEMA last year. We've put 30,000 miles on these bad boys since, just going to different events, wheeling, etc. So we're gonna be in need of a new set. We've got a new set on the way, and when they arrive, we'll be swapping out our wheels for a new style of KMC B-Lock wheels that they came out with, some forged B-Locks. We'll probably do some different powder coating scheme, change up the look a little bit, and then hopefully within the next few months, we may even get our hands on the new 42-inch Trail Grappler. That would take things to an entirely new level. So again, we love the Trail Grappler. It works for what we do. It's great on the road. It kills it in the rocks, in the dirt. So we're sticking with that, and we're just gonna swap it out for a fresh set, and then we'll be looking forward to showing you guys the new KMC B-Lock wheels that we have as well. So we just got to Moab, Utah for the Moab 4x4 Expo, and we've got our build with us. We just refreshed it. We're gonna be out here for the next 3 days hitting trails and putting this Jeep through its paces just to see how much better it performs both on and off-road. We're getting started on top of the world, a nice little shakedown run. We always like to kind of kick things off on this trail. It's a fun one. It's easy going. There's some fun obstacles so we can put the Jeep through its paces ahead of some of the tougher trails that we'll experience later in the week. So it should be a great spot to shake things down and just get an overall general feel for how much better this thing is going to perform out here. Day 2 at the Moab 4x4 Expo. We're putting the Triton JL through its paces on Moab Rim. We just got through the first technical climb, little V-notch shelf, gets you a little off camber with the cliff edge off to your left, kind of where you lean down towards it, and it'll make you pucker a little bit, but it just feels so much more stable. So I have the pleasure of hosting Ted Livingston from Onyx Off-Road. He is rolling with me today on Moab Rim. How's it going? What are you thinking so far?
It's going great so far. Just getting over the first obstacles. And I'm not a big fan of cliffs or gnarly heights, so Moab Rim definitely has that. And it'll give you that pucker factor as you're on the edge of the cliff overlooking the river.
No doubt. So tell us how we're using Onyx out here on Moab Rim today.
Yeah, just keeping everybody on trail as we go up and over all these different obstacles. You can drop waypoints if you find need to make some notes for an obstacle. all kinds of interesting things.
You can label that hero shot, that first like V-notch climb that we just did.
Exactly.
We're gonna play around with Onyx while we're on Moab Rim today, and maybe put Ted in the front seat of the Triton, see if he wants to give it a go on an obstacle or two, and just have a great time out here. We made it to the edge of Moab Rim, and we've got a sick view overlooking town. The Jeep's about as close as I want it to be to the edge. Great day out here on the trails. Again, super stoked with how well the Jeep's doing, and yeah, we're ready to finish off the trail and do it all over again tomorrow. It's our third day at the Moab 4x4 Expo, still hitting the trails. It's been a fun day and an interesting day because we're actually out here with Tim Odell from Vice Unlimited. He made the trip out to Moab all the way from North Carolina with his Diamond T King of Hammers inspired race buggy. This thing is totally one-off. There's nothing else like it. And I've been following this thing around all day, trying to keep up with it. And I've actually been doing all right, which is a pretty good testament to the new Bilstein suspension system that we have underneath the Triton JL. Thanks for following along and checking out the rebuild we recently did to our already built Jeep JL on 40s. We just got back from the Moab 4x4 Expo, where we spent a few days on the rocks putting the Jeep through its paces and finding out how well it performs given all of the recent changes we've made. The Bilstein shocks perform flawlessly, and our new bumpers from Hefty Fabworks not only look good, but hold up well to the task off-road. We can't wait to get our hands on a fresh set of the 42-inch Nitto Trail Grapplers and mount up our new KMC beadlock wheels as well. Drop us a note below and let us know what you think of our new setup. We want to hear about the changes you're going to make to your off-road rigs as well. As always, hit the like button if you did and subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, wander on.